Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It almost sounds like a roll call from what's that film? Good Morning Vietnam. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Q Macro DJ here with Hands on SAP Dev. Another Friday morning for me, regular episode. Great to see folks on the stream already. I've seen John Murray. Good morning, John. I've just seen Fabian. Good morning, Fabian. Nice to see you. It's always great to see the folks on the stream, especially the regulars. So I also have Mr. Max Streifeneder on the line from all the way from sunny Munich. Although I can't tell. I'm looking at his face now, and he's in a room that looks like it has no window. So what I'll do is I'll switch over to the interview scene right now. Oh, lots of good mornings. Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Ronnie. Good morning, Srikanth. Good morning, Mahesh. Good morning, Nabheet. Good morning, Hunter Gatherer. Awesome to see you all here. So let me switch already. Got some news items, but we might as well have Max on the stream as well. My sister is calling. She doesn't have a normal live stream. Just put that off there. There we go. Hey, good morning, Christian. Good morning, Douglas. Amazing. Fantastic. So let me switch to the interview scene and hope that OBS doesn't crash. That's amazing. We have here, and you can all see him now, Mr. Max S. Say good morning and give us a quick wave, Max.
Hey, good morning, Brexitland and the rest of the world.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the Brexitland reference. I will assume that folks on the stream will shout if we can't hear Max, but I guess we can. I'm running the loop back. Oh, no, that's not loop back stuff.
I can't see you anymore, but I think that's
not
normal.
Really important. I think that's normal, but people can see you louder. Oh, thank you very much indeed, John. Loud and clear. That's great. Okay, so let's go through some. We got a little bit of a mixed bag, a nice little mixed bag of things today. I'm looking forward to immensely. We're going to finish off after the news bits. It's the morning coffee with DJ and Max show. Excellent. That's what Ronnie says there. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to a few news items and everything, and then we're going to dive straight back into where we left off last Friday, looking at the CAP stuff we did with Java on Web IDE. So Max is going to take us through that. Because we left on a little bit of a exciting moment, so we're going to dive back into that, and then Max is also going to take us through some sort of build tooling stuff and have a little bit of a look at that, in particular Maven, and we want to take our time looking at that a little bit to understand what's going on there. I for one, not being a Java person, I'm super interested to find out how that. Not how it all works necessarily, but how it feels and what it looks like. And then if we have time left over, I think we might have a little bit. I think it'd be worth starting to look at deploying to Cloud Foundry. Specifically though, from the command line, using command line tools. Now we won't get all the way today, but I think it's definitely worth going slowly, which is something still trying to do. Anyway, I have a sip of my coffee. By the way, my coffee mug, my SAP Coffee Corner mug, reminds me to say that Sapphire is around the corner, a couple of weeks' time in Orlando. Is it Orlando, Max? It's Orlando, isn't it? And Simon and Jacob, and I think Martin as well, the three hosts, the 2+1 hosts of Coffee Corner Radio podcast will be at Sapphire. So go and find them and chat to them, and I think they're looking to do like a crowdsourced podcast episode from Sapphire. So yeah, go and find them at Sapphire if you're there. So Ronnie has just said, Max, come to think of it, there was a Twitter conversation about what you call different brackets, curly braces, parentheses, angle brackets, and so on. And Ronnie, I think I remember pointing out that he called the braces mustaches, and he says, come to think of it, seeing Max here, I might rebrand my mustache parentheses to Max parentheses. I think that's a good idea. Yes, that's definitely a good idea. And I will point out, Ronnie, that Max's nickname in this room here, where Michelle is just over there, is Errol, as in Errol Flynn. Look it up if you don't know who that is. Good morning, Miles. Nice to see you. Great stuff. Okay, so anyway, what am I doing? Yes, so one of the things I wanted to point out is that a friend and colleague of mine, and I've probably known to you folks as well, yes, Classy, exactly, is Ivan Femia, an SAP mentor, or is now an SAP technology ambassador. Now he works for SAP. And great chap. I remember Ivan doing some really cool stuff with exports to and from Excel and stuff from the ABAP stack. Despite it being Excel and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, let's not go there. So Ivan has this new series of videos he's putting together from zero to cloud, which complements what we're doing here and other things really nicely. So check that out. I'll put the playlist in the chat here, and of course when I do the annotations of this video, or when in fact I get Max to do the annotation, as this is really Max's episode today, we can put that link in there as well. So that's
the only reason why I'm at this stream, right?
Exactly, that's the only reason I invite Max, so that I don't have to do all the annotations. By the way, let us know either here in the chat stream or in the feedback thing, how you're finding these annotation blog posts. Are they useful? Is there anything missing? Should we be doing something different? Is it too much? Is it too little? Let us know. We're always up for feedback, aren't we? So that's that. There's also a person on Twitch that I want to highlight. I try to sort of highlight different Twitch streamers each Friday. One of the folks I follow and watch is somebody called Gareth Huball, and I'll just put the link to his videos right there. He does some really cool stuff with F#, which is a language that I know a little bit about from looking at videos from Eric Meyer in his sort of functional programming series. And I think, is it right that Eric has had a lot to do with F# anyway? F#, a wonderful language, compiles to sort of the .NET environment. So he's a sort of a sibling to C#, which is really interesting. So yeah, F#. So check Gareth's stream out. Really, really good. I really enjoy it. What else? Yeah, so Matt Harding pointed out this morning, and in fact Nabheat, I think you saw that as well, didn't you? There's the new Quartz theme, which relates to SAP Fiori 3. There's a little bit of that already available. So let me just paste that in there as well. And there was a conversation, so let's have a look at to see if we can see any of the theme aspects in the UI5 SDK. And you can actually, if I open up a new window and bring it across here, SAP UI5, can I just go, yeah, there we go, there. If we open up that, sorry Max, I've just made you invisible, so I'm going to make that, can I make it any smaller? No, I can't make it smaller. I'll put you in the corner there. We can see this is by default version 1.64.0, but you can change it to 1.65, which is where the new Quartz theme starts from. There's not much to see right now, but if we look at the demo apps, in here somewhere, if we go down here and have a look at, for example, the work list, which is in the Sandbox Fiori Launchpad. Of course, we're well aware of the Sandbox Fiori Launchpad. I think I'm right in remembering when I had a look at that this morning that we can see a little bit of that theme in action. It's only a small bit, but basically, if we look at the what they talk about here, it talks about this new shell header bar and the way that they've reorganized the shell header bar to be simpler, and they've moved the user avatar to the right, and it's got this little sort of action list menu instead of anything else. So in fact, if we do that now, manage objects, yeah, there we go. So we can see here's the sort of the shell header bar. The user is now over here. Okay, if you were to look at the 1.64 version of UI5, which has the Belize theme, this user avatar would be over here. So there, you can sort of see that already in the UI5 SDK, and probably even more in the nightly, you can start to see the aspects of the Quartz theme coming to life. So that's that. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, 2 weeks time, quick reminder, we're going to start with the UI5, updated UI5 course on Open SAP, which is going to be awesome. There's Margot and Michael, two of the folks that have built the course and everything, really good. So let me just put that in the link as well. And finally, where are we? Yeah, Napheat has written a really nice, interesting post. Maybe Napheat will get you to tell us about that maybe next time on Wednesday next week. For example, we've got a fortnightly episode happening next week on Wednesday. So yeah, maybe you want to give me a shout and see if you can come on and tell us about, talk us through this. Really interesting. So getting our little CAP project running on Google Cloud Platform through the Google Cloud Run mechanism. So let me know. Yeah, so that's that. So let's catch up with the chat here. Oh, okay. Napheat is saying that the annotation is super useful. That's great. Thanks. And some other developers to follow. Ah, yes. So Fabian, thanks for posting that. That link there is the thing that Fabian's just shared. I think we had a look at this a few episodes ago, but yeah, there's some awesome people here. Yeah, so have a look at that as well. Thanks, Fabian, for posting that. And John, an excellent app for Mac for Windows management is Spectacle. Yes, I'm using Spectacle. Yes, I am indeed. There it is. There's my Spectacle. I definitely recommend Spectacle as well. Okay, so the final thing. By the way, do you use Spectacle, Max?
Yep.
Yes, it's awesome. So for example, Spectacle, I can sort of put that over there on the left, on the right, and the right 2/3, right 1/3, etc. Full screen,
yeah,
and so on. Right.
I'm
so
still not that good with the key, with the shortcuts as you. So the only thing I'm using is to full screen and on the left and on the right.
Okay. Okay. Just to show off, and I'll put it in the middle. There we go. Okay. Anyway, no, let's have it on the right. There we go. So finally, as of yesterday, we now have an updated version of the VS Code plugin. So the CDS language support for VS Code is now at 1.1.4, which, and I've had a look inside, maybe we'll look at this on Wednesday next week in the details, but basically 1.1.1 was a previous version of the plugin, extension, and that had language server protocol CDS LSP 2.03, that's now gone up to 2.07. I'm not remembering this, I wrote it down here so I can sort of have a look at it. But also more importantly, I guess, the CDS compiler, which comes bundled as part of the VSX package, is now at 1.9.0, it was 1.8.0, which is closer to the one that we have sort of by default, which is 1.10.0. Let me just open up a terminal session here, CDS version, yeah, CDS compiler, in the CDS command line bundle is 1.10.0. So there we go. Okay, so that's that. So I did have a look. I've just pinged the folks back in the mothership. Your VS Code may not successfully notice that there's an update. So you may have to download this 1.1.4 and do another install from VSIX to get that. There we go. So
Did you know that there is a hack to get it updated automatically?
No, maybe that's something you should show us right now.
Ooh, I promised too much, I guess. I didn't try it. I've just
tell us about it.
Somewhere or on Twitter. What was it? I promised too much, probably. Shall I already share?
Yes, go ahead. So start sharing. I will make you full screen.
Okay.
There we go. So while you're digging around there, I've just seen from Napheat, does Windows have anything I can... anything in parallel to Spectacle? To be honest, Windows, you can already do some of the spectacle things by default in Windows. I think it's like, Alt and then the arrow keys to the left and the right, or Control or Windows key or something. So there are some features in Windows by default that spectacle does for you on the Mac. Yeah, exactly. So Ronnie is confirming that Windows has it natively. Yeah. So there we go. That's, but you didn't think you were going to hear that on a Friday morning. Something positive about the Windows OS from me. There we go. Yeah. Wow. Exactly. Okay. So over to you, Mr. Max.
Thanks, Mr. Adams. Well, I'm not really sure if it's working. I've just seen it. So I open my VS Code and going to the command palette with Command Shift P. And there was something with command install code command in path. I'm not really sure if it's definitely working, but I've seen that should get rid of this manual updates for VS Code.
Oh, okay.
So once we do that, shell command successfully installed in path on the bottom right, then you usually get the updates for the CDS VS Code extension automatically.
So have you got the VSX extension installed in yours? What does your extension list look like? So yours is right at the top.
No,
that's something different. No, you've already got it installed. So if you delete your search, yeah, it's right at the top in enabled. So that's 1.1.1.
Is it the most current version?
No, 1.1.4 is the most current version.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. That's cool. That's interesting to know. Anyway, so if you, if you hit Command comma for the settings in VS Code and do a search for CDS now, you'll see that there's an update site, that URL right there. But I've looked at what that returns, and it returns a 404. So I think there's a little bit of a reconfiguration of that or something. Anyway, I've raised a little issue on the internal GitHub repo for that. I'm sure they'll sort it out. But in the meantime, just update it manually and enjoy the new features. There are some new features relating actually to the sort of defaulting suggestions of SAP CDS Common and everything. But anyway, right, that's enough of that. Why don't we get started with where we left off last time?
Okay. Well, where we left off last time, I think we should spend 2 or 3 minutes in order to get people which weren't with us last week, up to speed. Yeah. We have a database, or usually we are in the Web IDE. With Java, we have a database with a data model like this. So some books, some orders. Oh, there's an update to the LSP, I guess, or my. What's up? Ah, the language server protocol wasn't loaded. So
yeah, this is
we have some books.
Loaded, isn't it? Yeah. Very
some authors, some orders. I already deployed it to my HDI container in Cloud Foundry. We have a service definition, a straightforward service definition with just a projection on the entities in my HANA database. And what we wanted to do, because DJ, you've done it already with Node.js. Let me go to my VS Code and open the stuff from last week. There's hands-on some custom logic for
yes.
order creation with some validations if there's a amount attribute on the request or in the post request. If there's enough books stocked still, things like that, and we wanted to do the equivalent in Java, and we started that. Once I'm too fast, DJ, just interrupt me.
Sure, yeah. So
what we did is there's a nice new, that's not really new, wizard in the Web IDE where you can generate the whole skeleton for the Java class, which is the entity operation hooks. let's do it for artists, for people which haven't been with us to see what's happening.
Yes, in the wizard menu, then I saw entity operation hooks, but also custom entity operation. So I guess the custom entity operation, when we looked at that diagram in the documentation last week, that's if you want to replace the standard out of the box implementation of the entity handling, and these are if you want to look into the different time points.
Just opening the documentation once again. So we have generally the entity operation hooks, which is before and after the generic operations, or you could also override the generic operation with your own logic, in this case with Java, but also with Node.js.
Yeah.
All right. So that's just an example how to generate the skeleton for this Java class with all the methods for exactly this entity. We've already done it, so just for an example how this looks like or the approach is. People which have been listening to us or watching us last time already know that. So we created a class for orders and tried around, for example, the after read hook, how to adjust, for example, a certain attribute for an entity. And what we also did is we wanted to validate if incoming orders are valid for, in terms of if there's enough amount or if there's even the attribute with a valid amount. And what we also wanted to do is look if there's enough stock still. So if somebody wants to order 100 books of EID 1 and there's just 10 in stock, that shouldn't be a valid order request. So
yes. I like the it's your fault. I think I remember us talking about the fact that the 400 series status codes are basically the client's fault.
Okay. So what I already did is I deployed my database. I started my Java server. Where are we? Here are we. And tried to roll it back to the initial state, or not the initial state, the state where we left off last time, and tried to reproduce the error because I was frickling around to get rid of this error. If we have a look to a Postman, which is a tool to simulate HTTP requests, this is exactly my URL for the data request. As you can see it over in the web IDE, this is my application running on my catalog server, which I defined in CDS files. I have some orders over here, for example. The GET request is usually just the query. And what we want to do now is to create some orders. So I took the URL up here, copied it over, defined the header that we are sending JSON, and defined a order. For example, I want to order the book with the ID 310 and exactly 250 pieces of it. Yeah. So what happens if you send it again? Unfortunately, was my mistake, not a mistake of Cap or somebody else. So just blame me. Please have a look at the logs because something is wrong. So what happened? I had a look at the logs, which is, well, being super honest, not really cool to analyze, but that's sometimes the case with logs. Awful. And it takes some time. That's just usual log outputs, and once you see a stack trace, something might be interesting for you. In this case, I had a look, invalid column name, book ID. It's not really cool that we are getting a HTTP 500. That's something completely failed on the server side. We could catch that. Was also my fault that, for the sake of time, we skipped that to handle these errors. So what we wanted to do is, where are we? So book ID is wrong or unknown. So what I did is I wanted to read the entity books, select where the ID is exactly the ID of my order, and get back the book ID and stock.
Yeah.
And if we have a look at the data model for books, there is, as you can see, no book underscore ID. It's just called ID.
Nice.
So
you could almost say that was a deliberate mistake. So you could sort of explain this, right?
yeah, well, I was in a rush to get in my stuff done within 1 hour, so I would blame you for stressing me. No, just kidding.
Okay, I'll take it. That's cool.
So now this select on my books entity should work. We have a look at the return stock and check it if the amount of my request is higher than the stocked books. If not,
we return a 409.
Or enough in stock. There could be something in stock. So rerun my application again. Should take a few seconds.
I like the attention to detail there, adding the word enough, because that's more accurate. Okay. Oh, there we go. Restarting.
Hopefully nobody can see. Ooh. Could not run manual. What the hell is going on this time? Let's stop it.
Application failed to stop. Let's have a look in the cockpit here. Exactly. This is all real life stuff though, so it's all good.
I tested it a few minutes ago, so actually I don't know what's going on. Oh, I was too fast. I guess for new people, I have one global account, an internal environment, because my trial environment is still
broken.
messy. Yeah, I didn't have time. Still didn't have time to get this errors fixed. I have one space in Cloud Foundry.
Yeah, and this is why you can fix all your stuff with Book Max, for example, as well, because there's probably other things.
Because there are a lot of applications in here, and as you can see, my application is still running. I have simply no idea why. Well, we get an output here. Nope, there's no.
Worst case scenario for this, for right now, we could always remove the app, couldn't we, and redeploy it.
Yeah, first stop it or remove it, whatever. Ah, stopped now. Okay, all right. Going back to WebID and try to rerun it. I'm already sweating, to be honest.
Is it that warm down there in Munich?
It is. And by the way, I have windows in this meeting room, and I can also look outside, and it's not sunny as if. I already feel a little bit British without sun.
Brexitish. Okay, here we go. The moment of truth. Let me see any. Oh, yes, exactly. Christian, that's not going to help him. Christian said you should be sweating. The world is watching. No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
No, I think I think Max is doing an awesome job, and I can relax, you see, as well, which is a bonus.
At least you.
No, that's all right. That's all right, Christian. Please don't resist. Please speak out and put Max on even more pressure. Yes. No. Just kidding. Just kidding. Come on. Right. Here we go. So while we're waiting, what I was going to say. So Napit, are you interested in coming on next week sometime and on Wednesday and telling us about your Google Cloud run? Let me know. You know how to contact me via direct message on Twitter or something. I think that would be really good. I'm a big fan of the shell environment on Google Cloud Platform, but I've not played around with Google Cloud Run yet, so I'd be very interested in finding out how we can use that in conjunction with CAP. And I'm sure other folks would be too. So, yeah, give me a shout.
Well, thanks for taking over. In the meantime, my application is started again. Are you still there, DJ?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Ronnie as Ronnie and Srikant are both trying to persuade Nabi to say yes.
Okay, trying it again. We ordered the book with the ID 310.
Mm-hmm.
There's still 241 stock. Let's do a positive test in the beginning, like ordering 1. Since I don't have any order idea, I don't have an idea too, but order ID, this is generated because of my...
oh, that's the CUID, isn't it?
Because of the managed aspect here.
I think
right.
Could the managed aspect.
Oh no,
is
the managed
the
aspect
that
is
gives us the
created
created
by
and the modified by and at.
Yeah.
The fact that we define this key ID with a UUID type, that's the thing that will also generate the ID if one is not specified. However,
I just wanted to test the view listing.
Yes, if I was still waiting. In fact, I finished my coffee, so yeah, that's helped. But there is also this CUID aspect, which we could use if we wanted to, which would mean that we could even leave out line 18 there, and it would insert a key property called ID with type UUID, and that would do it for us. But we got it sort of explicitly here, so that's all good.
Okay. Just to explain, or because of explaining upfront what's happening without entering an ID for the order. So hopefully some magic is happening now, and I'm getting back a order because we only ordered 1 book. Here's the generated ID. Those 4 attributes because of my managed aspect. So everything behind is managed by CAP. If we have a look at the application and all my orders, there should be now 1 additional order down here with 1 amount. My user is somehow here VCAP. I haven't had a look at it, why that actually is, but once we're coming to security aspects, I think this is
we'll leave that to the authorization episode, which will be coming soon.
All right. I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, I was going to say we're just because VCAP is that whole sort of virtual environment, isn't it? That sort of is used by the Cloud Foundry for all sorts of different things.
Yeah, exactly. So coming to the point where we left off last time, we wanted to get a feedback by my service if we ordered too much, like 250. I'm sorry, you're too late. Not anymore. And not anymore enough in stock. All right, we're getting a feedback now instead of just an error.
Nice.
By the way, because we had a HTTP 500 last time and not a proper error message, this is because of where was my more or less select in the database in the background here.
Yeah.
This is causing a data source exception. I'm just throwing it to the CAP framework, and this is just forwarding it, or I can't handle it. So usually you try and catch it here and handle it properly. All right, that's just half of the truth. We are checking if there is enough amount, but every time I order something, my stock should be adjusted in my books entity. So what we wanted to do is...
Is it worth having a quick look back at the Node.js code in VS Code just to remind ourselves, and also maybe make the font a little bit bigger?
Oh, sorry, I always forget that. Or for you, DJ?
Exactly. Whoa! Well, that's a little bit big.
Just kidding.
Old man. There we go. Yes, there we go. So we can see this transaction.
Yep, this transaction here. We update the books entity accordingly. So we lower the amount for my books entity attribute. Exactly. It's handled a little bit different in Java, but hey, it's 2 different programming languages. Not everything can be the same. So my stock is usually stock minus the amount I ordered. Give me a second. Still a little bit stressed with my error before.
That's okay. Well, in fact, while you're doing that, Fabian is asking any logger that could be plugged to the server to catch error success requests. Now, I'm not a Java expert at all, but I think there are quite a few logging frameworks in Java that would actually work quite well here. But let's maybe look at that next time.
Well, I wasn't really listening, to
That's
be
all right.
honest. I'm sorry. As I said last time, I'm really stressed with coding at the one time with new stuff, and on the other hand, commenting it. So just give me a second. I will build it and explain it in a second. That's maybe a better idea.
That's okay. While you're hacking that in, Volker has arrived. Welcome, Volker. Hi, people tuning in. What did you miss? So you've missed all sorts of news, but we put the news in the channel in the chat. But we got Max online again, and he's just finishing off where we left off last Friday, which is to add the custom logic in the orders mechanism to check whether there's enough stock, and also to now reduce the stock if an order is successful, and so on. So sort of in parallel to what we did in the Node.js environment. So that's what we've been doing so far. It turns out that there was a mismatch on the property name that we were using the last time. It wasn't book_ID, it was just ID. So that was the reason for the error at the end of last Friday. So we fixed that, and we're looking at this now. Go Max, go Max, go! Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm somehow struggling, and I have no idea.
Yes, and thanks John. John's pointed out Sentry.io. In fact, I was listening to a podcast on my run yesterday, which is not usual. I don't listen to things normally, but I listened to a podcast from Scott Hanselman. He works in DevRel for Microsoft. Awesome chap. Really interesting stuff. And that podcast episode, which was talking about the Sinclair Spectrum and Bandersnatch, Black Mirror's Bandersnatch actually, was sponsored by Sentry.io. Yes, exactly. That's the one I was thinking of. And so, John, you read my mind. So Sentry.io is a third party but runs on front and back end. Highly recommended. Thanks, John. No, the podcast. Let me find while Max is hacking away here. Let me just go and find Hansel Minutes. Is it called Hansel Minutes? I can't remember. Technology podcast. Yeah, it's definitely Hansel Minutes. I can't remember.
I have no idea what's happening here.
There we go. It was this one. Coding for the ZX Spectrum and Netflix Black Mirror's Bandersnatch with Matt Westcott. Let me just put that in there. It is a great podcast. Hansel, yes, perfect. Thanks, Ronnie. Hansel Minutes. And that was the episode I listened to yesterday, in fact. How strange is that? So, here we go. How are we getting on, Max?
I usually know how this is looking like, but the web ID is freaking me out.
Are we trusting the Web IDE error notifications, or?
We are trusting it, yeah.
Okay.
That usually has metadata. Can I convert book can I be all of this undefined organize imports? No. Did they adjust something? Can I convert blah blah blah?
That has metadata book looks a bit strange.
This has metadata is actually a interface for default entity data. The entity data is implementing has metadata interface. I have no idea why it's not working this time. Book cannot be resolved to a variable because this is definitely not a object here. All right, we need.
And is that the right way to express this second argument to the default entity data? Yeah.
Well, what I'm doing wrong is, I guess, convert from entity metadata to entity data.
Default entity data, map of a string and an object, which is that, and has metadata is undefined. Do we have to actually specify? So what happens if we remove that second parameter? What will the error be then?
Which one? This one?
Yeah. And
then
also,
it doesn't know which entity data it should build.
Okay. John is also saying, is book defined anywhere?
Nope. But it's stock book now and should.
Okay. Nice one, John. Yeah. So yeah, it was stock book rather than book. But that constructor itself.
So we have a map here and we have has metadata is undefined. Okay. Default entity data. The metadata is 1. New default.
That error's gone away now on the line 122.
That's another one.
Max?
Yeah.
Oh, it's there again. Interesting. So why did that error disappear?
I don't know. Should we just delete this line again? I'm getting nervous as hell. Wait, this isn't working because I tried it a few minutes ago. So let's revert it to has metadata and let's look at the error again.
Yeah. So cannot convert from entity metadata to entity data. This is the thing that keeps occurring, right? So this error here, the constructor default entity data that takes a map and this has metadata.
That's definitely wrong. That can't be right. New default entity data. So we need a map. We have a map, and we has a entity metadata. That can't be right.
So John is guessing, is it because of a type mismatch between get entity metadata and entity data?
That's definitely the case, but there's only one method for default entity data, get the metadata. There's no other way of doing that. But if we have a look at that, get association. I have no idea right now why this is working. Usually you just clone it via the default entity data.
But that error's gone away now, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we still don't have, like, I explain it in a second. If we take again my extension or my data source helper, which we have, where is it? Here's my helper.
Yeah.
That's the data source helper. Handler. So what we wanted to do is get my helper and then handler. Get my data source handler and execute a update, for example, because we wanted to update the stocks of my book.
Yep.
Then I definitely need a entity data and not an entity metadata.
Okay.
but I still have no idea how to.
So the expression here that the construction of this new thing on line 122,
Yep.
You're constructing a default entity data thing
Mm-hmm.
and then calling get entity metadata on it. But what you want to call on it is, or what you want to get from it is this entity data.
Yep, like the type we have up here. What I wanted to have a look, just 2 minutes, then we are going over to something else.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
No, that's right.
If we execute a update, do we definitely, yeah, we need the entity data. Okay. I wanted to have a look if it's like possible without an object, but as we did it here with a simple, flat types with strings, etc., in order to do an update, but you definitely need this entity data here. I have no idea how to build this somehow. Well, I think what people should have right now is a rough idea how to implement custom logic in Java methods. Even this update is working here. We already have the select working, etc. Not sure if you want to cover your things you planned, or if we should dive into like a simple explanation of Maven or how you create a Java project like that.
Well, I mean, as we're looking at Java anyway, I mean, I think let's look at the Maven stuff. I think that would be nice. Just one more thing, as John is saying here, do you need to call get? I mean, I think we do, don't we? We actually need to call get entity data rather than get entity metadata. Again, John is saying just as a guess, but I think that's where we had that issue with the constructor, wasn't it?
Ooh, controller. Well, two options. I could either tweet it or write it in the Slack channel once I've fixed it. I will spend a few minutes afterwards in order to get it working.
Let's do that, yeah, I think the Slack channel would be a good place to do this sort of finishing off, wouldn't it? Yeah. Let's look at the Maven. I'm really interested to find out about how this all works underneath from a build perspective.
Okay, so usually the bare metal core of Java projects are usually in this time built with Maven. So everything in the background of web ID is also done with Maven, but could be done exactly the same on your local machine. So there's exactly one file which is POM called. Let me have a look. It's project object model or something like that.
That rings a bell.
It's a project object model. Did I say that? I'm not sure. Defining a few things when you want to build your Java project with a jar file, an executable Java file, or a var file, which is a web application archive, is built up on, and that's more or less the descriptor. So we have a few things which are kind of magic, which is super helpful by SAP. So we have like a parent project which we are relying on. So this is delivered by SAP. And the only thing we are adding in terms of the web IDE template is our own stuff for this project. So for example, a artifact ID is like, give me a second. This deliverable object we are building, for example, a service, a database, whatever it is. And the group ID is, for example, a company name or something, which is a little bit more bigger in terms of there are more artifacts below. A version, etc. What's the packaging? So what is the outcome of my build process? Is it a var file? Is it a jar file? How is it called?
Web archive.
And so once I click on run here in the background, this whole Maven process is started, and this additional folder gets created, the target. So if you have a look in here, there's exactly this corresponding folder to my artifact ID plus version plus the including file in here should be somewhere. I'm struggling again, still kind of confused what we did. Where's my var file? Oh, it's here. Yeah, I thought it's in here. This is more or less the file which gets executed, and you definitely need a lightweight server where the war application gets a war file gets deployed to,
so
which is in our case.
Yeah, a typical thing would be like Tomcat, wouldn't it, or something like that?
Yep. In this case, it's a Tomcat, but it could also be a Spring Boot application, whatever you can imagine. So any server which is taking on a war file is sufficient. And what I found relatively cool in the beginning, so this POM file is kind of overwhelming. I don't want to go too deep into that, but that's just half of the truth from my point of view, because most of the magic is happening in here.
Yeah.
And what I did is, if you want to have a look, I mean, in Eclipse, there is a feature that if you build your POM file, there's an additional tab which shows the effective POM file. So it's what's the English word for?
Is it like the expanded version?
Yeah, the expanded version, exactly. So what I wanted to show you is simply I copy over this file to my local machine. Well, it's too big. I'm sorry. I make a new file and copy it over and save it to, for example, episode 2, which is my web IDE pom.xml. And going to my terminal.
Maybe a little bit bigger.
Yep. Just navigating to my folder on CD episode. My CD episode 2. Should be my web ID POM. Okay. And to also give you an idea how the Maven documentation looks like, it's super cool from my point of view. It's effective POM. There is Apache Maven home plugin. There is a documentation with a lot of things how you can resolve your POM file and let it explain. There's this effective POM, which is resolving this parent artifact in our file, which I already told you. So it's all inherited, or most of the things are inherited by this parent. Let's call it project in the meantime. And to have a look at the result, we will execute this one in the command line. Just copy it over, effective POM, and if you click on this effective POM, there are some arguments which I can pass to it, which is the output. I want to have a output in a file, minus the output is effective POM XML. Ooh, not sure if it's working. Yeah, because there's no POM file. I will save it again as a proper POM file.
POM.xml, yeah.
Here we go. It's resolving most of the things, and also building it in a simulation. Let's have a look if there's something like a effective POM. There is one. Let's open it in code. And here is more or less the
right, that's
resolved.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to explain, but you could get an idea, for example, what's also in it, like which libraries is SAP using. There's a lot of Spring frameworks used in the background, histories for all these circuit breakers, etc., etc.
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff in it, but to get a feeling what SAP is using here, also, which I didn't have a look at it, our service is right now offering OData v2 endpoints. There's also OData v4 in it, so there should be a way to serve OData v4, etc., etc. So that's like all these inherited things by this parent, let's call it project again. And also, which is useful, usually in Node.js, you use your NPM registry or a repository. There's like one, or the most famous one is Maven Central, where you can search for
the NPM, the global NPM repository.
Yeah, exactly. And if we have a look like for some things here, there's already a lot of stuff in it to have a look at which versions are in here, when is it last updated, is there anything. So here's, for example, our artifact which we are using in the web IDE.
Yeah.
This is project parent OData v2. Going over to this one again, that's my parent which I'm inheriting from. And you could like get an idea what's where's it used, etc., etc. That's my artifact idea. I could download it here.
Mm-hmm.
All these versions, etc., etc. That's like the very beginning of how to analyze what's behind this Java template in the web IDE, nice. And to get it working more or less in a local environment. And there's a lot of stuff.
It's always good to know how things work underneath, right?
Yeah, and that's just the very first percent of get a Java project locally running, and there's a lot to know, and there's a lot to adjust, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
But that's, from my point of view, kind of cool to know in the beginning where I can have a look where to find the libraries, etc.
Definitely, and that actually that reminds me. One thing that we can cover next time is moving to deploying to the cloud the Node.js stuff that we did. So we looked at we've been looking at the Node.js version of CAP and so on, and doing CDS locally with SQLite. Of course, here we've been doing it in the web IDE with Java and deploying directly to the cloud. Sort of no local context at the moment. But I've been looking at how we move from the local Node.js based development environment on the workstation and deploying to Cloud Foundry on SAP Cloud Platform. And one of the things that one of the tools that we'll need for that, and maybe we'll cover this on the next Friday, as in a week today, on that live stream episode, is installing the right tools that we need for that. And there's a couple actually. If I just if you want to stop sharing your screen, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I'll go back to your
just one
video.
Second. 1 second, DJ.
Oh yes.
As I'm prepared, I had a fallback project where I already developed live, and somehow it's working here and not throwing any errors out. I will compare it afterwards, but it's definitely working. I have no idea why it's.
I know. I can see the difference. I can see the difference. You had the get entity metadata being called on the result of this constructor, whereas here you've got this bracket there.
Okay, all right.
Well, do we want to try that and run that? I mean, that would be a nice thing to finish on rather than go into the new subject. Let's modify what we had, maybe, just to sort of honor this.
Should we copy it over, or what?
Yeah, let's copy it over. We've only got a minute left.
Yep.
And see what we get. Yeah. So to stop me rambling on about tools for deploying to Cloud Foundry, which we can cover next time, let's have a look at this. This is there we go, and then.
That.
So you've got to reference this handler thing, which is not there, obviously.
try it again if beautiful makes sense. Okay, all right.
Okay, last bit. And in fact, we do have to finish at 9 because, as in 1 minute's time, because Michelle over there is going to go on, over there. He's going to go on a call.
Application is running, all right.
That's a good sign.
Okay, well, let's check if it's really running. I'll give it one more second. Whoa. What the hell is going on here? It's not my day, DJ.
That's okay. Well, let's put the information in the Slack channel as to the results of this and everything. But I'm glad we got that line resolved as well. Okay, let's finish here. It's 9 o'clock. Folks have got to get to their meetings. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you awfully, Max, for coming and sharing more goodness with Java and Web IDE. I'm sort of, in a way, quite glad that we had that sort of problem, because that's really the world, right? That's really the world, and to be honest, we now know what the problem was. So I'm happy. So Max, thank you very much. I'm pointing over there.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining, and see you on the stream next time. Okay, bye. Where's my mouse?